Let me make sure it is streaming. Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Bobby Srivastav, and welcome to a very new, unique Voices of Tech podcast, more like a video blog that I'm starting to really highlight and showcases all the diverse voices in technology that are disrupting the space, such as fintech, insurtech. We may even start to bring in guests that are in the DeFi space as well. So my very first guest is Kate Terry. And Kate, this is all about you. So I would love for our audience to get to know a little bit about you and your background.
Great. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here and to be talking with you. Happy New Year to you, Bobby. So my background is not as a traditional entrepreneur. I actually came out of the corporate world. I was a management consultant for a brief period of time after college, then went to business school, got an MBA, and joined Progressive Insurance as a product manager. And what I really liked about it, I hadn't been in insurance before that. What I really liked about it was this combination of taking care of people at moments when really bad things have often happened to them, but also sort of numbers and analytics and analysis and this continued ability to kind of use that data to improve business. So I spent 3.5, 4 years at Progressive and then came home to my native and very chilly Boston. Spent about 1.5 years at Plymouth Rock as the Massachusetts product manager when the market was deregulating, and then went over to Liberty Mutual, spent a hot minute as a personal lines product manager, and then moved over to commercial as a senior vice president. Had the commercial auto book of business for Liberty for a couple of years, and then spent 4 years managing a product ops group that was 300 people doing everything from typing names on forms in Wausau, Wisconsin, to state filings, to special projects, to PhD statisticians and actuaries that we hired away from Google to build all of the underwriting and rating models for Liberty's commercial lines. And I kind of just got to the point where I was like, wow, big corporate insurance, I learned a lot. I met great people. I learned a lot of content about insurance. I learned a lot about insurance products and developed some real expertise there. But big corporations are slow-moving ships. They're hard to move and change. And even if the will to change is there, it's always very hard to prioritize kind of improving a huge book of business by a tiny bit versus innovation. I wanted to do something more innovative. So much to everybody's surprise, I up and quit, actually almost 5 years ago now. Started a consulting firm doing product innovation consulting, and one of my clients, Jay Grayson, became my co-founder at Surround. And what I was most excited about is that I feel like at Surround, we are building products for people who are left out of traditional insurance. They were the people and the businesses that I saw that didn't quite fit the very traditional sort of life, that game of life, like the traditional kind of cadence of what your lifestyle is supposed to look like, and the things that you're supposed to kind of accumulate over time. And so those are the folks that we're building for, modern consumers who have a new set of needs.
Oh, that's awesome. And Kate, I gravitated towards you a couple of years back because our backgrounds are, I don't come from insurance, I come from tech, but I came from corporate, where I worked at big companies, and entrepreneurship literally fell onto my lap when my daughter was 6 months old, and my husband and I had an idea, and we actually built a product. And this is before Benekiva. So Benekiva was like my third startup, but it was very cool to kind of experience that journey. And when we met Brent, we had the confidence to really build a solution out because we'd done it before, and we have all this corporate experience that we understand B2B. We understand how it is to implement solutions. So it's a breath of fresh air to see, folks from corporate coming into startup world, because the problems and you're looking at it from a very different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure you've found this as well, but it's actually almost in some ways a competitive advantage, right? If you've spent some time in corporate, you've probably developed an area of expertise, and you've probably been exposed to pretty good training and a lot of different kinds of things that are done, if not well, at least very thoroughly, right? So there's a lot to learn there. But the narrative of entrepreneurship is always like you drop out of Stanford at 20 and you start billion-dollar unicorns, right? Yeah, you mentioned your daughter was 6 months old. I mean, my daughter should have been 4 maybe when Surround started. Like, I'm not 20, did not drop out of Stanford, and that there's both, even though it's not our stories aren't necessarily the narratives that you often see, which is why I think you doing this podcast is so cool. It's critically important to the range of ideas that we develop, like the fullest set of solutions we can for our customers, that we have people coming from different places, right? So all you mid-career folks, come join us.
Exactly. And not bashing the entrepreneurs, like the 20-year-olds.
No
I think
way.
got to be a good balance of people, but the stereotype has to change. The stereotype of a cool dude with the hoodie, maybe when I'm at the gym, but that's not like our backgrounds.
No,
So
I mean, they have their heroes and they have their stories, right? And so we need our heroes and our stories too, right? Yeah.
So the next question that is what is Surround Insurance? I know you talked a little bit about, hey, I'm building this for the untapped market, the people that are typically don't have access. Talk a little bit more about your business model and your why. Why did you want to start this?
Yeah. I'll start with the why, because that's really what drives me, right? The why is because I believe that insurance is fundamentally good. I know, like, people who aren't in this industry, nobody wants to buy insurance. Nobody's excited about dealing with their insurance company. You can point to lots of problems in the insurance space, yes. But the fact remains that we, the insurance industry, the people who have stood behind every major endeavor that humanity has undertaken, right, for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years. And we've allowed people to take risks that would have been personally crushing had they failed otherwise, right? And we've stood there with people in their worst moments and given them a check as they stood in the dust, after Hurricane Katrina or whatever else. And that is just a powerful sort of sense of setting fairness back where it should be in the world, right? Life is inherently unfair, and every day we make it a little bit more fair. And I believe that. So that's my why. So if you look through that lens, who is it that our modern economy leaves out of insurance? And it is people who are living and working in this world where maybe they don't own a car, but they drive cars, they rent cars, they borrow from Zipcar or whatever, they borrow a friend's car. They don't own a condo, but they have a house, right? They're cycling in the streets. And all of these folks are growing up in a world where the social safety net, at least in the US, is not where it was 20 years ago, right? And they're exposed to all this risk. And yet, if you don't buy the things that insurers want you to have, a home, a car, et cetera, it is really, really hard to find coverage for yourself. So that's really what we're building for. We're an MGA, building generally admitted products aimed at young adults who want to protect themselves. So products like non-owner auto, we have a renter's product, miscellaneous professional liability that's at $100,000 limit. So you don't need a massive commercial policy if you have sort of a side gig, that sort of thing. And we're rolling out a set of new products in new states this year.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. So tell us about your one advice that you would either give to your prospect customer or somebody that's an entrepreneur just like you.
Oh gosh, I got to go with the entrepreneur first, just because my biggest piece of advice is just do it. Like, don't wait until you feel ready, because you're never ready, and you don't actually know until you've built it, how to do it, right? The building is the learning. So just jump, just do it. Reach out to us, talk to Bobby, talk to me. We'll encourage you, right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. In terms of my customers, the folks that we talk to every day on the phones and email and whatever, I think the biggest advice I would have is just be careful and ask to make sure that you're covered. Don't assume before you do something that could end up in a big accident, right? So if you think about the two things that you most need to worry about, those are driving, right? Car accidents, expensive. And especially if you're young, disability. Nobody thinks about it, but if you're suddenly completely disabled and can't work at all, and you're 25, that's a lot of years to support yourself, and Social Security disability is not going to do it, right? So I think just think, and those are the two big risks for most young people that they probably should think about.
Awesome. Awesome. And what is your one big ask of this community,
Yes.
social community?
Yes. Yes. So I think my one big ask is if you know somebody that is interested in the kinds of things we're building or who I could learn something from, would you make that introduction? You know, I think sometimes, especially coming out of corporate, you don't sometimes get initially how this world works, but it is all introductions and kind of learning more from the people in your community and supporting each other as you go. So if there's somebody I should know, please either reach out or please introduce me across, and I'm happy to do the same.
So, and how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can feel free to email me at kate at surroundins.com, or you can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn at Kate Terry. And yeah, happy to chat. I've met so many neat people in this community, and I hope that continues in 2022.
Great. Well, this wraps up our first ever episode. And I asked her, Kate, yesterday to be on this show, Unique Voices of Tech. And I'm on a mission. Like this is to be my passion project for 2022. I really want to highlight voices that never get heard or don't have the forum to get heard, because every time we go to conferences, we see the same set of individuals, which is awesome. But there's so many unheard voices that we should be tapped into, that we should hear. They come at tech from a different global lens, different lens altogether. And I just, I felt very motivated this is like my give back component. I really want to share lots and lots of voices in tech, so it doesn't look like the stereotypical, like you can see all of these diverse voices in tech.
Yeah, well, I admire you and I admire what you're doing with this project, Bobby. It's super exciting.
So, well, thank you. Until next time, thanks, Kate. And please follow her on LinkedIn. She's got a wealth of knowledge, and I'm happy to consider her one of my friends. Until next time, Happy New Year.
Bye all.